Hello, my name is Eric Wade. I'm an MLTI ambassador, and this is the professional learning that focuses on engaging students with graphic design, another step in the Engaging Students series that I've been working on. Um, so let's get started. What is graphic design is where we're going to begin. We're going to define it. We're going to look at how to integrate it. Then we'll look at how we can get started, and then I have a list of resources to get you going. So first off, what is graphic design? So in education, it's really kind of difficult to find a good definition of using graphic design in a classroom. So this is kind of a mishmash of multiple concepts around graphic design. There's lots of graphic design in art and graphic design programs, but as far as like using graphic design in a regular ed classroom, um, uh, and integrating that into whatever it is that you're working on, there really aren't a lot of like good definitions. So this is kind of what I've mishmashed together. So graphic design in education focuses on students using visual content to communicate their learning and or understand concepts and skills. That last part is important because kind of the first thing we think of when we think of graphic design, at least for me anyway, is how can it be a part of a final product for a student, whatever that might be. So the other way to think about this, though, is that graphic design can actually be, and using graphics in school can actually be a good way for students to help for students to better understand a concept or to have a better understanding of a skill. And we'll talk about that some more in a second. So some examples of some different ways that you could use graphic design in your classroom. The first one actually has to do more with students than it does student understanding more than anything else, and that's using sketch notes. If you're unfamiliar with sketch notes, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Another way is this is more in terms of showing information in a simplified way for students to kind of show their learning with an infographic, or creating using images that can enhance the work, that can help to bring the abstract world that they may be writing about or describing and make it more concrete. Graphic design can be used to help with models, building models, especially in science classes. But building a model of, not just like building a model of a solar system, but like building a model of how atoms move, or how molecules of water change their speed when you add or take away energy. And then another really fun one is that kind of fits really well with graphic design is the idea of using a comic book or creating comics. So let's talk about how we can integrate this. It's actually more straightforward than I would think, or than you might think, especially around kind of the four major core classes. And I apologize if you're a phys ed or a health and an art teacher or anything like that. I didn't get into the kind of integration pieces of those, but any of these ideas can be, I think, universally used in any content area. So for math, you get the simple one, you got graphing and geometric concepts, fractions, decimals, and percents. Using visuals for algebra, measuring, basic numeracy, using models to show those, having students build models is a really big part of that, but kind of that conceptual understanding of those beginning steps of harder concepts later in math. For social studies, we've got infographics and creating maps, models of whatever it is that you're doing, using sketch notes for students to help them better understand. Images to enhance text is such an important piece of social studies, and then using those ideas of images, but also how that transforms how things have moved, and using images to show history of an object or a place or a time or whatever it is that you're doing. Brings a little more reality to maybe a perhaps more abstract concept. For science, building models is huge. We spend a lot of time building models. Again, sketch notes and infographics are important pieces of science. Sketch notes for students understanding, infographics for kind of conveying information in a simplified way. Using images to enhance text, again, kind of making the abstract concrete. Field drawings, if you do any outdoor ed pieces, having students create field drawings of whatever they might find, measuring those field drawings and being accurate about what they're doing. And then images, again, to show that abstract concept. And then ELA, again, sketch notes are kind of universal. They're such a fantastic way for students who better understand things visually rather than perhaps written down. Sketch note is a fantastic way to kind of help that student. Using images to enhance text, again, making the abstract concepts more concrete. Using images to set a visual setting. And then one of my favorite ELA topics or concepts is using an image as a story, building a story, a fictional story, or a non-fictional story, perhaps, over an image that you do. When I taught ELA for a little while, and that was one of my favorites and my students' favorites activities. So let's look at how we get started with this. You want to start, as always, start simple, right? I never will advocate for anybody to just reinvent their entire curriculum because they think that graphic design is a cool idea. It's just start simple, right? Do it through a medium that you're comfortable with. If you already are comfortable with students and you have students doing a lot of writing and adding an image to that writing, or adding an existing infographic into their writing is a good starting place for you, then that's where you should start with. If you already have students doing data, for instance, or looking at ideas, maybe an infographic is a better place to start. Just teaching students what a sketch note is, and allowing those students who might benefit from that sketch note to be able to use it. That might be a simple place to start, but wherever you feel comfortable, that's where you would begin. And again, there's the example of, adding image to text is an easy first step. It's a really easy step. It's super simple to do. And it can totally enhance the writing that you've been doing, whether it be informational text or creative writing. And perhaps technology might not be the right fit. I mean, I know this is all about technology integration, but you may find that graphic design for you works better on the trifold or something like that. You don't feel like I would never advocate for anybody to force anybody into using a technology that they're not comfortable with. So if you do feel more comfortable starting off using graphic design, but technology might be kind of overwhelming, and you skip it. I was just talking to a teacher the other day who was talking about, I was talking about 3D printing, and they asked me, why didn't you just have students build a model out of cardboard? And I said, well, that was an option if students wanted it. So if skipping the tech, if that makes sense for what you're doing, and it helps to kind of integrate that idea of graphic design into your curriculum, then go for it. So some considerations around graphic design, organizing visuals so that the viewer can quickly and easily perceive those visuals is important. Kind of a concept idea, directing the viewer's attention to the most important elements. Again, that's the whole idea of a graphic design, is to kind of help the reader, help the audience understand what it is that the student is talking about. Or for you, from a teaching perspective, graphic design in terms of helping students in designing lessons is so important. If you use slides perhaps like this one, the white circles here, the white ovals here are designed to help you organize the visual, direct the viewer's attention, and be simplified so it's easier to process. That's the whole point of this. That's why it's built the way it's built. If it was just text on a gray, this kind of tannish color background, that would be fine, but it might not help the reader or the audience or whoever it is that you're presenting this to be able to kind of discern and see which is the most important parts. Directing their attention and being simple. Same with this idea of again, making abstract concepts more concrete, right? It makes that easier for students and for everybody to understand. Making the complicated information easier to share and easier to understand. Again, an infographic, that if you're looking at data over time of something and it's just too overwhelming, an infographic might be the better way to go about communicating that whatever the meaning of the data is. So perhaps instead of just having one piece of just a bunch of data on a data set, perhaps an infographic would be an easier way for your audience to understand whatever it is you're trying to communicate. And then emotion storytelling, right? Any emotional elements that can be conveyed visually is always helpful in terms of cueing students to be able to understand the reading that they're doing. It also is great for the audience because again, it helps cue the audience into whatever idea that you're trying to communicate. So that's basically it. Graphic design is a really pretty straightforward concept. Here are some resources, and I kind of broke them out into kind of useful pieces that you might find. So if it's an infographic or looking for an image to be able to put into a text, drawing and image editing, because you may find, for instance, that it doesn't, it just doesn't work. That you need to edit the image or draw on the image or draw a period just to be able to get whatever it is you're looking for. Some great comic book starters that are really fantastic, and then some useful tools that I've found that are very helpful for students. And again, here's this website here is one that explains sketchnotes. So if you're unfamiliar with sketchnotes, this might be a fantastic place to start. And then there's the design principles that I had on the previous slide. So that's it. If you would like to earn a contact hour, please do a quick form. Just click here and it will take you to a quick form just to ask you very simple questions about the PD. There'll be a link in the thank you message that will bring you to this. And you just fill in your name at the top and submit and print, and you'll be able to earn a contact hour. Just print it off. If you have any questions or like some more deeper dive into this, please feel free to email me. There's my email right there, or follow me on Twitter. If you have any questions in terms of integrating technology, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to work with you anytime. Thank you so much.